Hello and welcome to another TLDR US video. As I'm sure you're too well aware of at this point, the current global pandemic is an unpleasantly fast-moving situation. As such, we're here to bring you updates and new information about the virus in the United States. So whether you're a worried American, a confused non-American, or a global citizen who's watching the world fall apart, this video is for you. Before we do, you should know that all of our coronavirus content is being demonetized, which means we've lost a significant amount of revenue and our videos have been suppressed in the algorithm. If you want to help us with the money issue and support our team, there's links to our Patreon, stores and PayPal below. If you want to help our videos get seen by people even when the algorithm isn't picking them up, please share, like and comment on this video. So let's start with the numbers. At the time of making this video, the US was reporting about 85,000 cases, meaning that the US now has more cases than any other country, surpassing even China and Italy. And the US also has more than 1,000 deaths. Of those, a large percentage are in the state of New York, which has become the national epicenter of the disease outbreak. In a sign of what's to come, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo stated in a press conference that New York would now need a minimum of 30,000 new ventilators. Because of this and the extreme social distancing measures only starting to take effect in the last couple of weeks, experts assume a larger number of people are sick than are currently confirmed through testing. Many of these cases have been mild and therefore haven't been tracked, hence why the numbers are expected to get worse over the next few weeks. And that's what's scaring Andrew Cuomo and his administration. In a desperate attempt to slow the virus, Cuomo has been making regular pleas to the federal government for aid in the form of ventilators and protective equipment.
Equipment. Masks, PPEs, and ventilators. And of those three, the greatest critical need are ventilators. We need, at a minimum, an additional 30,000 ventilators. You cannot buy them, you cannot find them. The only way we can obtain these ventilators is from the federal government, period.
What Cuomo wants here is for the federal government to invoke the Defense Production Act. This act allows the government to order industries to manufacture needed supplies in a national crisis. In this case, ventilators and personal protective equipment for doctors. This is a move that Trump has been hesitant to take, as he claims that businesses are already trying to help. Cuomo, however, says that companies aren't moving fast enough. And this issue isn't unique to New York either. Hospitals across the country are desperately trying to get their hands on additional ventilators and PPE, most of them with minimal success. Not every governor is responding like Cuomo, though. Florida's governor has come under some heavy criticism from both Democrats and Republicans for his continual refusal to implement more drastic social distancing measures in his state. The widespread images of massive groups of people on Florida's beaches has begun to put the state in the national spotlight. But as of Wednesday, DeSantis has said that he has no intention of asking Florida residents to stay in their homes. This comes as an increasing number of governors order statewide lockdowns in an attempt to slow the spread of the disease. And while states are trying to stop numbers from skyrocketing, the federal government has been trying to stop the economy from plummeting. In the last few days, Washington has been dominated by the key battle taking place over the multi-trillion-dollar stimulus package, which is meant to shield workers and businesses from the economic blowback of the virus. When Senate Republicans first tried to pass the bill earlier this week, Democrats voted against it, claiming that it didn't contain enough oversight for large companies. But after a few days of negotiations and alterations, the bill was deemed to be satisfactory by Democratic leadership. And in a vote late Wednesday night, the Senate passed the bill unanimously. It will now be sent to the House, where Speaker Nancy Pelosi has assured the public that it will be quickly approved. So, what's contained in this bill? The answer is, well, a lot. The bill has a price tag of around $2.2 trillion, making it the largest stimulus package in US history by far. Previously, lawmakers have been careful to avoid hitting the $1 trillion mark, for fears of being accused of overspending. But when it came to this bill, optics were thrown out of the window. The bill hopes to sustain the economy through a number of measures. The most well-known are, of course, the direct payments. For weeks, there have been talks about sending checks to people in the mail, and this bill finally marks legislation on that matter. As it stands, most Americans are set to receive $1,200 from the government, with an additional $500 per child for parents with kids under the age of 17. This amount is lessened gradually for people earning incomes over $75,000, but beyond that, there aren't many caveats. Assuming the president signs the bill, the IRS will start sending out the checks in the next few weeks. The stimulus also includes a number of measures to stop people losing money and shelter. This protection comes in the form of preventing evictions and delaying foreclosures and student loan payments. This is meant to help Americans who have recently lost their jobs and are struggling to pay bills, as well as preventing people from being evicted from their apartments while they can't work. The bill also includes large expansions for unemployment insurance, giving an extra $600 a week to jobless workers. All of this is especially important when considering that huge numbers of people across the US have found themselves unemployed in recent days and weeks. Finally, the bill includes provisions to help businesses, both small and large, as their profit shrinks drastically as a result of social distancing. This includes loans and grants to local businesses, as well as to industries like air travel, which have been decimated in recent weeks. On top of this funding to companies is around $117 billion in funding to healthcare providers and hospitals, which could prove critical in the coming weeks. Clearly, this is a huge piece of legislation, and in normal circumstances, it would almost certainly be enough to kickstart the economy. But these aren't normal circumstances. Many are still worried about the effects of keeping people in their homes for weeks, and likely months on end. Due to this, a few have begun arguing that the country should be reopened in the coming weeks. In fact, President Trump on Tuesday stated that he wanted to see the economy open by Easter, only 2 weeks from now. This is a desire that has sparked some controversy, as many health officials assert that people will likely have to stay home far past Easter. Others accuse such a rapid timeline of prioritizing the economy over human lives. And that's the main problem here. The US, as well as every other country on the planet, is faced with an unusual decision. In the past, helping people has led to an improved economy, but in this case, protecting people will require huge economic sacrifices. This is a balance that government officials and economists are struggling to deal with. So let's take a look at the options. If the US opened the economy in the coming weeks, conservative estimates put the death toll in the millions, with a recent study from Imperial College London finding that the US could run out of space in hospitals by the end of April, and that demand would soon exceed 30 times the maximum supply. This still is a sacrifice that some have indicated they're willing to make, with Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick saying in an interview that we shouldn't sacrifice the economy for people's health, and that high-risk people, including seniors like himself, would take care of themselves. This, of course, was not universally well received, and many accused him of disregarding people's lives. But no matter which side of this argument you fall down on, there's another issue that undermines this argument. Opening the economy might not even work. Columbia University professor Jeffrey Sachs said earlier this week that the economy can't begin to recover until the health crisis is dealt with. So what's the alternative? The simple answer is more of what we've been doing. An article by The Atlantic was widely circulated earlier this week, after saying that we'll likely have to live with social distancing for another year or two, i.e. until a vaccine is widely available. In it, Harvard professor Stephen Kissler stated that we needed to be prepared to do multiple periods of social distancing. Essentially, this means that there's a good chance that the best way to slow the spread of this virus is to play a global game of whack-a-mole, with social distancing reinstated periodically whenever case numbers begin to grow. But for now, this is all speculation. In the end, we don't really know what's going to happen next. Maybe the country will be reopened by Easter. Maybe it won't happen for months. Nobody really knows yet. After all, we're in uncharted territory, and unfortunately, unelected officials don't always listen to health experts. But for the next few weeks at least, we're likely to stay in a similar position to where we are now. More states will implement lockdowns, case numbers will continue to rise, and things will continue to look more dire. Whatever happens after that, though, is anyone's guess. Let us know what you expect to happen next and how you think that Trump should respond to this crisis in the comments. And you can also get involved in the conversation over on Discord. We'll be sure to keep you updated on this situation as it plays out. So subscribe and hit the bell icon to ensure that you don't miss out on any of our videos.